What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be checking out the Transformers EARTHSPARK Deluxe Class Terran hashtag. Yet another all-new character specifically designed for the show, and a really cool looking design. Now this is the Takara Tomy exclusive. I do believe that Hasbro are releasing something which is very similar to this as part of their Warrior class lineup, but the two major differences between the both would be that this no longer packs the combine and ride ports. This has also been repainted front side to back, so when it does come down to being directly compared against her actual character model, she appears to be incredibly close. Now as we check out the details, she may just have one of the most distinctive head sculpts that I think we've so far seen from an EARTHSPARK design. In addition to sporting a visor and an inbuilt comms link, she also has a full-blown top knot, which I think is nuts. In terms of the rest of the robot mode, very well put together as well as pretty decently painted. In the show, she comes across as being an incredibly athletic and agile character, and I most definitely get those vibes from this figure, which honestly guys, I think is really well done considering that originally she was only a warrior class. In terms of the paint apps, I think those electric blue highlights are looking sick. Not only are these giving me Iron Man arc reactor vibes, but all of this is a huge step up in comparison to the original Hasbro version. As we spin her to both the side and the back, yet again mostly incredibly tidy. This right here was originally where that combine and ride port was, and personally I think Takara did us a favour in completely cutting that out. The only part of the design which I honestly can't say I'm too crazy about would be this tiny back piece, but it has been really nicely detailed, and if it bothered you that much, it is only held on by two tiny friction nubs, so you could simply pop that bad boy off and you would have no problemos at all. So in all, another cracking EARTHSPARK design. Say what you will about the TV show, but I think we can all agree in saying that when it does come down to specifically some of these EARTHSPARK Terrans, they may just be some of the best designs that we've seen from an animated TV show, I would say, since Transformers Prime. When it comes down to weaponry, hashtag is sporting two Cybertronian blasters, which I do believe are exclusive to the Takara Tomy version. Now in addition to both of these being detailed really well, they've also been painted front side to back. And despite not being too keen on this back piece, I would be lying if I said that it didn't make for some pretty sweet unofficial weapon storage. Now, when it comes down to posability, unfortunately this is the only area which I think is letting this figure down, because had Takara maybe engineered quite a few extra points of articulation, she would have been almost borderline Legacy United worthy. So to begin with, the head is simply only on a swivel joint, so this will only be able to look left to right, which unfortunately is a little limited. The shoulders are on ball joints, so these will kick forwards, they will kick backwards, they will also kick out to the side. There is no bicep joint, although there is a ball jointed elbow, so in addition to crunching to 90, this can also bend side to side. There is unfortunately no wrist nor any waist articulation, but buried inside this figure's torso is still the transformation joint, which is what you would use when it comes down to creating that combine and ride gimmick. The hips are able to kick forwards to that far, although unfortunately can't really kick back too far. They will also then kick out to the side as well as spin around here at the thigh. There is a mere 90-degree bend here in the knee, although if you do make use out of the transformation joint, you can kind of get her kicking herself up the backside. And then finally, when it comes down here to the ankles, unfortunately these are super limited. But with that being said, I have still been able to get her into quite a few dynamic poses, so as I'm sure you guys all know by now, to see the true power of hashtag, now let's put her through the pose test. Flying through some comparisons, first of all we are bringing out the EARTHSPARK Deluxe Class Bumblebee. Next up we have her sister from another Mr. the Deluxe Class Terran Twitch. And I've said it previously and I'll say it again, it is such a shame that when it does come down to this EARTHSPARK toy line, Hasbro never took this seriously like they used to back in the day during Transformers Animated, where we could have Deluxe, Voyager and Leader. Can you guys imagine had all of these designs been in scale of each other? Honestly, I think way more collectors would have been jumping on this line than unfortunately they are right now. But if you are not a scale nut, then to be honest, I still think she looks pretty great. So here she is stacked up against her brother from another mother. We have the Deluxe Class Terran Thrash, Nightshade, who I think is easily one of my favourites from the EARTHSPARK Deluxes, considering that they do actually transform into a full-blown owl. The Takara Tomy exclusive EARTHSPARK Deluxe Class Starscream, and am I the only one who thinks that Takara Tomy are mostly killing it when it comes down to this toy line? For the best part of 5 or 6 years, Hasbro and Takara have had a partnership where they've pretty much agreed not to outdo each other when it comes down to deco. Well, Takara have appeared to chuck that right out the window when it comes down to this toy line, because they are pretty much destroying Hasbro every single chance they get. And if you are like myself and you do want to pick up some of these EARTHSPARK figures, then I definitely think the Takara versions are most definitely the way to go. Because I mean, come on, here we have their version of Deluxe Class Aftermath, which, to be honest guys, for a mainline release I think is simply supreme. They could have quite simply packaged this in as a Legacy United figure, and I think collectors would have bought it, because when it does come down to robot, truck mode and engineering, this guy right here is freaking awesome. Then finally, for EARTHSPARK comparisons, we have the Ultimate Leader Optimus Prime, and then for 2 Transformers Generations comparisons, we have the Legacy United G1 Universe Gears, and then finally the Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Bumblebee. Now, swiping into the transformation of Hashtag, despite most definitely looking the part in robot mode, she is super easy to then get into car mode. So for the first step, we are now going to grab a hold of this back panel, and this should then very nicely slide over the top of the top knot. We are then going to make use out of these ball jointed shoulders, flip these upwards, and then hinge these here forwards exactly like that. Again guys, make sure to do the same on the second side. Then what you're going to do is spin here to the inside of the arm, where she is packing an additional panel. Now this is something that I think even the EARTHSPARK Deluxe Class Optimus Prime could have most definitely benefited from. We are then going to begin to hinge this here upwards until eventually this tab slides into a slot which is situated on the underside of this panel. We are then going to spin around here to this side and do exactly the same. So hinge this here all the way up until eventually that does very nicely snap there into place. You are then going to spin down here to the base of the figure, where we are now going to take a hold of the feet and flip these here backwards. Again, make sure to do the same on the second side. You are then going to spin her here to the side, where we are now going to take a hold of the back part of the leg, and we are going to separate this here from the knee joint exactly like that. You are then going to begin to compress this here all the way forwards until eventually this does completely encase her hand exactly like this. Again guys, spin around here to this side and do the same. So, detach the transformation joint away from the knee joint. We are then going to compress this here all the way forwards until the back part of the van can very nicely encase over the hand. For one final finishing touch, we are then going to take both halves and combine this here directly down the middle. And bang! Here we have Hashtag now fully transformed into her vehicle mode. Now, despite this being a pretty big departure from my preferred souped up SUV, I still think this is a pretty decent pickup truck to accompany a very solid robot mode. So to give you guys a quick rundown of all of the details up front, those gunmetal components I think are looking sick. To then kind of go back to my earlier point, considering that Takara have completely removed the combine and ride gimmick, she is no longer sporting a ridiculously ugly tab up top, which I think looks so much better. In terms of the plastic quality, incredibly well made. Almost nothing on this figure feels cheap. As we spin around here to the back, I guess this entire area maybe could have looked a little better had this perhaps been a Generations figure, but to be honest guys, from certain angles you really aren't going to notice it all that much. And one detail which I really do like are these inbuilt boosters. As we spin her here to the underside, it's a very basic transformation, so it is pretty much the entire robot mode just crumpled up. But one thing which I thought was really sick is that despite the tyres only being seat-clipped on, they actually roll even better in comparison to some actual Generations figures. So all in all, despite this not being the preferred SUV, it is still a pretty solid truck mode. And despite the weapon integration being basic, it still gets the job done. So both of those Cybertronian blasters do attach on either side to kind of give her a full-blown weaponized mode. For some vehicle mode size comparisons, here we have the EARTHSPARK Bumblebee. So definitely a pretty decent deluxe class size. The EARTHSPARK Aftermath, and despite not being as good as this guy in my opinion, I still think that this latest wave of EARTHSPARK toys have absolutely slapped. So I'm not quite sure why Hasbro to begin with never just gave Takara Tomy full creative control over this toy line, because personally I think they would have done a way better job than what we've so far seen from Hasbro. Here is how she stacks up against the EARTHSPARK Deluxe Class Optimus Prime, the Transformers Legacy United G1 Universe Autobot Gears, and then finally the Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Bumblebee. So to kind of go back to my earlier point, had Takara made even more changes to this figure, to be honest, I think they could have got it to the quality where it would be pretty much on par with what you would expect from a full-blown Generations figure. So, wrapping up on this review for the Transformers EARTHSPARK Deluxe class hashtag. Personally, I think Takara have done a banging job in taking the original Hasbro Warrior class, making some minor adjustments to the sculpt as well as repainting her front side to back so that she does better match with what we do finally see in the TV show. As far as the robot mode goes, I think she looks pretty bang on. I'm also a big fan of the inclusion of 2 additional blasters, something which we also never saw when it came round to the regular version, and the transformation, whilst is incredibly straightforward, results in a pretty solid pickup truck. So if you are a fan of Transformers EARTHSPARK and especially the character of hashtag, then as of right now this is easily the best version of this character that I think is currently out there. And even if you aren't able to pick up the Takara exclusive, even the upcoming Warrior class I still think looks to be incredibly solid, because when it does come down to that core engineering, it is almost identical to this deluxe class. I would love to get your guys' thoughts on this hashtag down in the comment section below. What do you guys think? I want to thank you all so much for watching, and until my next video, transform and roll out!